Chair, the room has been cleared and we are good to continue in executive session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm still getting that feedback sometimes, so I apologize if I pause. It's a little difficult. Okay, we will begin with the consent calendar, items 1 through 4. No respondents are appearing. Vice Chair, any discussion, or does anyone want to remove any items from the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, do we have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission approve the executive session consent calendar as presented.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Helt.
Aye.
Commissioner McCulley.
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, moving on to reports of preliminary review. We have item number 5, and we do have, I believe that respondent is appearing.
Chair,
Yes.
we will be hearing items 8, 9, 12, and 14 first.
Okay,
Their attorney will be appearing, so we ask for just a moment while we get them online.
okay, thank you.
For everyone's clarification, we will do items 8, 9, 12, and 14. Then we will do 10, 11, 13, the other 3 in that group. And then we'll go back to number 5 and proceed in order.
Chair, the attorney for respondents 8, 9, 12, and 14, Heather Van Meter, is online.
Okay. Ms. Van Meter, can you hear me? This is Shanoa Payne.
There. Okay. Great.
There she
I
is.
can hear you and see you.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome. This is the time and place for us to hear the matters for your clients. And the way that this, I don't know if you've appeared before us before, but in representing clients, but the way this will proceed is we'll first hear a report from the investigator, and we'll allow the commissioners to ask any questions of the investigator, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak. And I don't know if any of your clients plan on speaking, but we'll give them an opportunity to do so. We just ask that you keep it brief. We have a long agenda today. We generally allow comments, limit comments to 3 minutes. And then we'll allow commissioners to ask you questions if they have any. And then we have some other matters that we will hear before we make a determination on these particular respondents.
Thank you.
Okay. So it looks like, let's see here. Investigator Sullivan, please proceed.
Commission, this is Investigator Josh Sullivan for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item number 8 and the subsequent items. And this is the first in a series of complaints against members of the Columbia 911 Communications District, or C911CD. The complaint in this case alleges that board members and staff were met with conflicts of interest when they took actions to approve expenditures related to their own training, and in doing so, they may have provided personal benefits, financial benefits to themselves. While the complaint alleges different factual allegations pertaining to each respondent, it alleges similar ethics violations related to the approval of the reimbursement. The complaint states that the board members voted to approve expenditure reports, which included their travel per diem and mileage when they attended the 2023 SDAO annual conference, and it alleges that the board approved a variety of other concerning transactions. However, most of the highlighted transactions appear to identify benefits provided to district staff, such as staff meals, training expenses, fitness center memberships, and awards for recognition that may have been included in their official compensation packages. This specific case involves Jeremy Hype, the executive director for the C911 CD. The complaint alleges that Jeremy Hypes may have been met with a conflict of interest when he signed a check register indicating his approval of a payment related to his attendance at an Association of Public Safety Communications official conference in December of 2025. The information in this preliminary review indicates that the district's November check register included a $435 payment to Jeremy Hype. Jeremy Hype signed the check register on December 9th, 2025, attesting to the expenditure. It also appears that Jeremy Hype signed the December check register, which included payments issued to himself. Thus, it appears that he was met with conflicts of interest. The information provided does not indicate that Jeremy Hypes provided written notification of his conflicts of interest to his appointing authority requesting that the matters be disposed of. Thus, it appears that he may have violated the conflict of interest provisions as described in ORS 244-120 sub 1 sub C. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Jeremy Hypes may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law, and the recommendation is to move this case to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Sullivan. Sorry,
Chair,
Executive Director Myers, did you have something to say?
you have the option of voting on each of these as they come up, or the investigators could present all four that are represented by Ms. Van Meter, and then at the end of her presentation, then we could vote on each of those four individually. Which would be my recommendation.
Which would be your recommendation?
To then hear the other three presentations and then have Ms. Van Meter provide her response and then vote on those four individually.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's do that. Let's hear all three, the other three as well.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. So I'll move on. This is Investigator Dr. Sullivan. And again, for the record, I'll move on to agenda item number 9. And this is a complaint against Henry Mueller, the former vice president on the C911 CD board. In Henry Mueller's case, he seconded and voted to approve expenditures, including payments to himself for attending the SDAO conference in 2023. And when the expenditure report was considered by the board for approval, it appears that he was met with an actual conflict of interest because the expenditure report included payments on his own behalf. However, he did not publicly announce his conflict of interest, nor did he refrain from participating in the matter in his official capacity. Based on the information in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Henry Mueller may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law, and the recommendation in this case is to move the case to investigation as well. And then I believe Silas has the next.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. This is Investigator Silas Patterson for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item 12. This is a complaint against Bruce Holsey, board member for the Columbia 911 Communications District. Mr. Holsey voted to approve expenditures that included payments for his conference registration, meals, and lodging for the SDAO conference in 2023. It appears that Mr. Holsey was met with an actual conflict of interest as the expenditure report included payments on his own behalf. However, he did not publicly announce his conflict of interest, nor did he refrain from participating in the matter in his official capacity. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Bruce Holsey may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is to move this case to investigation. I'm presenting the next. Thank you, Chair and Commission. This is Investigator Silas Patterson for the record. Again, I am presenting executive session agenda item 14. This is a complaint against Mike Fletcher, the former executive director of the Columbia 911 Communications District. The complaint in this case alleges that Mr. Fletcher may have been met with a conflict of interest when he signed a check authorizing payments related to his attendance at the SAO conference in February of 2023. Information in this preliminary review indicates that on January 31st, 2023, Mr. Fletcher signed a check which authorized district funds to pay for lodging expenses for board members, staff, including expenses for his own lodging to attend the conference. Mr. Fletcher signed the check, which included payments for his lodging. It appears that he was met with a conflict of interest. The information provided does not indicate that Mr. Fletcher provided written notification of his conflicts to his appointing authority requesting that matters be disposed of. Thus, it appears that he may have violated the conflict of interest provisions described in ORS 44.120 sub 1 sub C. Based on the information in this preliminary review, it appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Mr. Fletcher may have violated conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is to move to investigation.
Thank you, investigator Sullivan. Sorry. I'm still getting my feedback and it's really distracting. Thank you, investigator Sullivan and Patterson. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the investigators? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Van Meter. Oh, sorry, Commissioner Halt, please.
Thank you. So in these 4 cases, 2 of them signed their own checks. The other 2 did not. Does that matter or is different? I just wanted clarification on that.
Yes, thank you for the question, Commissioner Held. I would clarify that for one of the 2 of mine, one, he didn't sign his own check, but he did sign an expenditure report attesting to the expenditures for board approval. And the other one was on the board and voted to approve the transaction. So slightly different circumstances where they would have had to make different conflict of interest disclosures. And so there's a little bit of a distinction there.
Can I ask just to clarify who this is involving? Because
Yes.
there's 4 people involved. So
Yes, and for my 2, Mr. Hypes was the executive director, and he is the one that signed the expenditure report as an employee. For Henry Heimuller, he was on the board. He's no longer on the board, but he participated in the approval of the expense.
And similar to Josh, Bruce Holsey is was a member of the board for C911 and signed voted to approve an expenditure report, which included payments for his own conference registration, meals, and travel, while Mike Fletcher was a former executive director for the board and signed a check which authorized payments for lodging expenses for himself, members of the board, and other staff members included in C9.
Thank you, investigators. Do any other commissioners have questions for the investigators before we turn to Ms. Van Meter? Vice Chair, please proceed.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. You're not alleging that there was any violation, there was any use of office or anything violation, because reading the material, these are clearly authorized expenses by board policy. The issue that is before us today is whether or not a conflict of interest needed to be. That's the sole issue. Am I?
You're correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I was clear on that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good question, and Vice Chair, and good clarification. Any other questions for the investigators before we proceed? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Ms. Van Meter, please proceed with your statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to address the group. Unfortunately, I think that there was, because of the breadth and scope of the initial complaint, it was very difficult for any of the respondents, including the ones like Ms. Hennessy, who were also caught up in this latest round of vexatious, litigation and complaints by Mr. Miller. But so there wasn't really an opportunity for people to understand even what the complaints were against them. But now, having seen the letters and recommendations, it's clear there was kind of a fundamental misunderstanding by the investigation. It would have been helpful to have an opportunity to address that at the time before this went to recommendations for investigation. But the fundamental misunderstanding is that the board members, the executive director, and others are not approving their own expenditures. The process involves, and it's a very detailed, and if I had been allowed to, I would have sent you the documents explaining the very, very detailed accounts payable and disbursements process. One step of that process involves the checks are all pre-numbered, obviously, and the CFO starts the invoice process, the admin staff goes through and sets up the vendor. The CFO then goes through the chart of accounts, creates the expenditure and the invoice. The executive director or a board member, if necessary, would verify the invoice to match the report. The report's then given back to the CFO. The executive director or a board member, if necessary, signs the checks and gives them back to the admin staff. The CFO does not have signing authority. So that's done either by the executive director or by a board member if necessary. And so once the checks are sent, those are all sent. So nobody here is dealing with they signed their own checks. None of that happened. What happens is at the end of each month, when the next board meeting comes up, the pre-numbered check sequence is tracked, and that's given to the board so that the board can confirm that the checks were written in the sequence that they were written in. And that's what the board is approving, is the check sequencing. They're not approving expenditures. The expenditures have already gone through the process and are already paid and out the door. So the only thing the board is approving as an additional checks and balance on this system is that the checks were written in the sequence they were supposed to be written, and that that sequence was followed. So that's the sequence tracking. That's what gets approved by the board. The board is not approving any expenditures for themselves. That is not the process. And so that's been the source of, I think, confusion here, and is, we're happy to submit this information for the group to consider. And then just briefly with respect to Mr. Fletcher, again, had I been allowed to submit the letter and information that provided the documentation on this, Mr. Fletcher, the only thing relating to him is that he signed a check for Sun River. It wasn't made out to himself. It covered lodging for all of the board members plus key employees. So based on the rule of necessity, if nothing else, he needed to sign the check because somebody had to, and there wasn't anybody else available to do that because the accounts payable and disbursements process only authorizes either board members or the executive director to sign.
Thank you, Ms. Van Meter. We appreciate your statement and your comments. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Van Meter? I will say that it sounds like there could be some assistance by getting the documents that you have suggested would help and assist. I'm left with kind of some questions here. So in my mind, I think we as a commission could benefit from some further investigation here. And so I'm leaning towards moving this towards investigation. Obviously, that means not reaching any sort of decision today, but I think it could be helpful to the commission to get those documents and just move this forward, and maybe that will lead towards clearing all of your clients, but it sounds like we just need to dig in and get more information. That's where I'm leaning. But I'd like to hear from other commissioners if they have different thoughts.
If I may, I would just point out that all of these people have to pay out of their own personal pocket for legal representation.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Van Meter. Right now is the time, you've given your statement. Right now is the time to hear from commissioners. Any other commissioners?
Sure.
Commissioner Jancy, thank you.
I would just echo your comments. It sounds like there's additional material that would be helpful for our consideration, and I'd like to see that, so.
Okay, Vice Chair, are you prepared to make a motion?
I am.
Okay,
We're making
we
these
are
individually.
doing 8, 9, 12, and 14 at this point.
Before I make the motion, may I make a comment?
Please, Vice Chair.
I agree with what's been said before. I will be interested as this investigation proceeds. I think council's point about that the board members don't actually approve these is something that I would like to see flushed out as this investigation moves forward. So, okay, with that.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Jeremy Hypes may have violated ORS 244-120 sub 1 and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, commissioners. You've heard the motion on executive session agenda item 8. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Vice Chair, executive session agenda 9, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Henry Heimuller may have violated ORS 244-120 sub 2 and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion as to executive session agenda number 9. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, Vice Chair, executive session agenda item 12, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Bruce Holsey may have violated ORS 244-040 sub 1 and ORS 244-120 sub 2, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion as to executive session agenda item 12. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Vice Chair, executive session agenda item 14, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Mike Fletcher may have violated ORS 244-120 sub 1 sub C and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion as to executive session agenda item 14. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Burke,
Hey, did you hear me? Yes.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, Ms. Van Meter, thank you so much for appearing today. What the commission has done is simply move these cases to investigation. There's been no decision today that any respondents have committed any violations, and the staff will be in touch with you about next steps.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we will now move to items 10, 11, and 13. Those respondents are not appearing. And it looks like Investigator Sullivan is giving the report on number 10.
Yes, thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. This is Investigator Josh Sullivan for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item number 10. This is a complaint against Shelley Hennessy, Vice President on the Board of Directors for the Columbia 911 Communications District. It's similar to the previous cases. In Shelley Hennessy's case, she voted to approve expenditures, including payments to herself for attending the SDAO conference in 2023. When the expenditure report was considered by the board for approval, it appears that she was met with an actual conflict of interest because the expenditure report includes payments on her own behalf. However, she did not publicly announce her conflict of interest, nor did she refrain from participating in the matter in her official capacity, in violation of ORS 244120 sub 2. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Shelley Hennessy may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law, and the recommendation is to move this case to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Sullivan. Any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none, any discussion on this before we move to a motion? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Shelley Hennessy may have violated ORS 244120 sub 2 and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion on agenda item 10. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke. Commissioner Burke. We can move on for now. Commissioner McCulley.
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Helt.
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
And can Commissioner Burke hear us or? Okay, in that case, motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. Moving on to executive session agenda item 11, Investigator Patterson.
Commission.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. This is Investigator Silas Patterson for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item 11. This complaint is against Jeff Flatt, board member for the Columbia 911 Communications District. The allegation is similar to the previous items involving the C911 CD. Mr. Flatt approved or voted and approved conference registration meals or an expenditure report that included his conference registration meals and lodging expenses. It appears that Mr. Flatt was met with a conflict of interest because the expenditure report included payments on his own behalf. However, he did not publicly announce his conflict of interest, nor did he refrain from participating in the matter in his official capacity. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appeared to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Jeff Flatt may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is moved to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Patterson. Any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Jeff Flatt may have violated ORS 244120 sub 2 and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion on agenda item 11. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
did we lose Commissioner Burke?
I think so.
Commissioner Thompson, Chair Payne.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, moving on to executive session agenda item 13, Investigator Patterson.
Thank you, Chair Planning Commission. This is Investigator Silas Patterson for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item 13. This is a complaint against Rob Anderson, board member for the Columbia 911 Communications District. The allegations are similar to the prior cases involving 911 CD. Mr. Anderson voted to approve an expenditure report that included payments for conference registration, meals, and lodging. It appears that Mr. Anderson was met with an actual conflict of interest because this expenditure report included payments on his own behalf. However, he did not publicly announce his conflict of interest, nor did he refrain from participating in the matter in his official capacity. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Rob Anderson may have violated the conflict of interest provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is submitted to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Patterson. Any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Rob Anderson may have violated ORS 244-120 sub 2 and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion on agenda item 13. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, we are now going to go back to agenda item 5. And we should have respondent Brown appearing.
Chair, the respondent is in the room.
Okay. Ms. Brown, do you hear me? There you are. Ms. Brown, my name is Shanoa Payne. I'm the chair of the Government Ethics Commission. Welcome. The way that this is going to go is the investigator is first going to give a report of the recommendation, and then the commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of the investigator. And then you will have an opportunity to give a short statement. We do limit statements to 3 minutes because we have a long agenda that we have to get through. And then the commissioners will have an opportunity to ask any questions of you, should they have any. And then we will move to making a decision whether to move your case to investigation. There will be no decision made today as to whether any actual violations have occurred. We will simply be voting on whether to move your case forward to investigation and get more information. That's the only decision that will be made today. With that said, Investigator Pacheco, please proceed with the report.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda item 5 in your meeting books is a preliminary review report for Pamela Brown, City of Shannaco Council President. In addition to her public role, Ms. Brown is an employee of Shannaco Gas LLC and a member of the Board of Directors for the Shannaco Music Sanctuary, a nonprofit 501c. The complaint in this case concerns 2 matters considered at the January 12, 2026 council meeting involving Ms. Brown. First, a discussion and vote to appoint Mark Haskett, the owner of Shanako Gas and a member of Ms. Brown's household, to the position of mayor. And second, a discussion and vote to approve a commercial lease agreement between the mayor and, between the city and the Shanako Music Sanctuary. As part of the lease agreement, the city agreed to let the Music Sanctuary rent a local schoolhouse for $183 a month. In her response, Ms. Brown explained that she is the Music Sanctuary's executive director and, depending on the nonprofit's financial standing, earns up to $500 a month. Based on the information gathered, it appears that Ms. Brown violated multiple provisions in ORS Chapter 244. In this case, as it appears that Ms. Brown could be financially impacted by the council's consideration of the lease agreement, it appears that she was met with a potential conflict of interest at the January 12th meeting. Prior to the council vote to approve the lease agreement, Ms. Brown stated that she was choosing to abstain despite not having any monetary income. In this case, such a declaration fails to notify the public on the nature of Ms. Brown's conflict of interest. Thus, it appears that she violated ORS 244.120 sub 2. It also appears that Ms. Brown used or attempted to use her official position at the January 12th meeting. In this case, during the council's lease agreement discussions, Ms. Brown, in her official capacity as a council member, promoted the Music Sanctuary services and benefits. Thus, it appears that Ms. Brown may have used or attempted to use her official position to obtain a personal financial gain by increasing the likelihood of the Music Sanctuary's financial security in order to pay her salary. This opportunity would not have been made available to Ms. Brown but for her official position. Thus, it appears that she violated ORS 244.040 sub 1. Oregon government ethics law prohibits a public official from appointing a household member to a position as an unpaid member of a governing body of the public body over which the public official exercises jurisdiction or control. In this case, Ms. Brown was serving as the city council president. Therefore, under RS 244.177, she could not participate in the appointment of Mr. Haskett to the same governing body on which she serves. In doing so, Ms. Brown violated ORS 244.177 sub 1 sub A and B and ORS 244.177 sub 3 and sub B. It also appears that Ms. Brown may have failed to accurately list information on her 2025 SEI. In this case, Ms. Brown's 2025 SEI only listed one source of income on her report titled Job Salary. In her response, Ms. Brown clarified that the income was from her employer, Shanako Gas, which she received income of more than $1,000 for that fiscal year. Moreover, Ms. Brown explained that she and Mr. Haskett, the owner of Shanako Gas, have lived together since 2019. As Shanako Gas is the name of the source of income, it appears Ms. Brown failed to properly disclose that information. Additionally, as a member of her household, Ms. Brown failed to list Mark Haskett's income. It also appears that Ms. Brown failed to list Shanako Gas in Section 7 of her SEI. In this case, given the fact that Shanako Gas is her employer and one of a few businesses in a small town, it is reasonable to presume that Shanako Gas would have a legislative or administrative interest on the actions and decisions of Ms. Brown as a member of the City Council. By failing to list the required information on her SEI, it appears Ms. Brown violated ORS 244.060 sub 3 and 8. Should this case move to investigation, Commission staff notes that there is a need for additional information. In her response to Commission staff, Ms. Brown explained that she and the Council discussed the Music Sanctuary's initial lease proposal at the November 10th, 2025 Council meeting. When asked who had added the discussion item to the agenda, Ms. Brown explained that it was her. Because such actions could financially impact Ms. Brown, it appears she may have been met with a potential conflict of interest and may have used her position at the November 10th meeting. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Ms. Brown may have violated ORS 244.040 sub 1, ORS 244.060, ORS 244.120 sub 2, and ORS 244.177. Recommendation in your books is to move this investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Investigator Pacheco. Commissioners, any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none. Ms. Brown, now is the time for you to make a statement. Again, we ask that you limit your statement to 3 minutes or less. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to take this time to provide some additional context around the City of Shanako and the Shanako Music Sanctuary. I began serving on the Shanako Council in January of 2025. And as a new counselor, I do recognize some gaps in education. I've registered for the Oregon Ethics Commission virtual conflicts of interest and prohibited use of office training on May 12th. The omission of Shanako Gas income in the Section 7 of the 2025 SCI report was an oversight. From my perspective, there was no legislative gain from working at the local gas station and holding office, but I did consult with investigator Pacheco for my 2026 SCI filing and have now disclosed this source of income under Section 7 and additionally listed Haskett's income as well. I want to shift gears and contextualize the Shanaka Music Sanctuary, which I'll refer to as SMS, and speak to a couple inaccuracies in the preliminary report. The report suggested that the lease on the Shanako City building, the written report that is, may have lowered SMS costs, leading to a boost in my salary as executive director. This is a non-starter because the lease on the Shanako City building actually incurs a higher monthly overhead. As Shanako City Council president, in the meetings where this lease was on the agenda, I did participate in the discussion as an advocate for the city. I did not see any personal financial gain present. As executive director of SMS, a 501c3, one of the original founders of the nonprofit, a former music educator in an underserved region, the maximal allowable salary makes up 1% of my household income. So this is not money that I depend on. This is not a moneymaker. It's a passion project. As discussed in the Shanako Council meetings in question, the main goal for the rental from the perspective of SMS is to bring free music performances and workshops to rural regions. This is not a moneymaker. It was a recommendation that I made as a city councilor, recognizing that it does incur more costs. Before I wrap up, just some more perspective on Shanako as a city. It's an extremely small community with 37 registered voters, has a history of high turnover with most councilors, mayors, recorders not finishing their 4-year terms. In the 1-year period since I began, Shanako has seen 3 different mayors, and in the same time frame, 3 different city recorders. In May, mass resignations left the city without a quorum during the budget hearing season. The city doesn't have any staff positions. We don't have a planning department, public works, entirely volunteer. Our last comprehensive plan was created in 1978. So lack of consistency in council in a rural area where conflicts of interest are inevitable. This turnover creates situations where a single unpaid volunteer is often juggling multiple responsibilities. So I do remain committed to serving the public responsibly with continued education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for your statement. I'm going to open the floor up to commissioners who would like to ask any questions of Ms. Brown. Commissioners, would you like to, Commissioner Halt, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I have a question about if it being 1% of her income changes the dynamic of the violation at all. I think that's more for staff.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Helt. The way that the statute looks at it is a financial benefit or detriment, so the amount doesn't necessarily change the analysis. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Commissioner Jancy.
I had a question for Ms. Brown. Thank you for your comments. I'm not sure if I misheard you or if I just misunderstood, but you made a comment about the obtaining a lease did not have an impact on the overhead of the music sanctuary. Did I mishear you or just misunderstand, or could you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Sure, let me clarify. I was alluding to presumptions in the report that perhaps by negotiating a lease with Shanaka Music Sanctuary in the schoolhouse that I would maybe lower the income lower the expense of a home office that I previously had. That's not the case. This is in addition to the already monthly overhead. So what I mean to say is this doesn't provide financial benefit to me as a salaried employee. It actually incurs more costs to the SMS as an organization, which goes contrary to me negotiating for personal financial benefit, because we're actually spending more money as an organization. And my understanding is from the assumption that if the association isn't doing well financially, that I don't get paid. And in fact, this shows more expenditures in addition to the programming that we're putting on for free too.
But you would not disagree that the rate of the lease, if it were higher, would have a more significant impact on the overhead of the music sanctuary than if the lease were entered into at a lower rate, right?
I would have to agree with that.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Commissioners, any other questions for Ms. Brown? Any thoughts or discussion on a potential motion? I will say before I go to Commissioner Halt that I'm left with some questions here. So I'm leaning towards moving this to investigation. But Commissioner Halt, please proceed.
Thank you. I do think she has rectified one of the investigative claims, which is the SEI statement. So I wouldn't want to move that forward. I think that's been taken care of.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Commissioner. I see is that Vice Chair, are you raising your hand or?
It's our executive director.
Oh, okay. I'm like, somebody in the room.
I don't have the power to raise a hand here, so that's outside my scope.
Okay, Executive Director Myers, please,
Thank you.
please proceed.
I wanted to address the earlier question that Commissioner Halt asked, which is that if in fact her salary, etc., from the music center is only 1% of the annual household income, does that influence or impact our analysis? And it does to some extent. So if it is less than 10% of the annual household income, then it does not need to be reported under question 2 of the SEI. And additionally, and I need to go back through the report, but is the music center, is it a nonprofit corporation? Is it a 501c? Okay, so the question then becomes if it is a business with which she's associated, and most 501cs won't qualify under subsection 244020 subsections 3, A, B, and C, they would not. Section 3D provides that a nonprofit could be a business with which a person is associated if the person is an SEI filer, as she is, and if it is a business listed as a source of income on the SEI. But in a case where the income is so little it doesn't have to be listed on the SEI, that would mean that it may not be a business with which she's associated. So I guess my answer to Commissioner Halt's question is that it may very well be relevant to what our analysis is, that the income is so small.
Commissioner Halt, please.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Can we ask how much income the nonprofit brings in or provides? Because if it's that number may be relevant. Am I correct, Director Myers?
It may be relevant to an SEI violation or whether she had a conflict of interest or use of office with respect to the lease. I think in the report, the nepotism things are completely separate, but the income's relevant to the SEI and conflict analysis.
Okay, so I think I'm asking what the income is of Pamela Brown from your nonprofit.
The income for me personally as executive director is $500 per month.
Okay. So does that number help or change the equation, Director Myers?
Well, if in fact the 500 is less than 10% of the annual household, the 500 times 12 months, so 6,000. Is that less than 10% of the annual household income? Family, sorry.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's less than 10% of my personal income, not even encompassing the rest of the household.
So, yes, I think that may get rid of the conflict.
Well,
Daniel.
I'm sorry. The way that the analysis had been written was that, as Pamela has stated, that she has that $500 a month salary, but it's dependent on the financial standing of the nonprofit. So the potential conflict arises from the discussion and the actions to participate in the lease agreement, as the lease agreement could have a financial impact on the music sanctuary and therefore her own salary as a result. That's where the potential conflict comes in. It's not an actual, but it's a potential conflict of interest. And that's why it was recommending investigation for that. And then also to review the prior meeting when the initial lease agreement was discussed. Thank
So
you.
has your income went up since you've leased the school?
No, it hasn't. And in fact, we're spending more money, $6,000 to put on a free concert. We donated money to the local schools. When I don't pay myself, it's not really due to the financial instability of the organization. It comes from my background as a music educator and wanting to give more money into these programs for underserved youth rather than into my pocket, because it makes up so little of my income. I don't need the money. I'd prefer to invest.
But her income wouldn't actually have to go up. It just the potential that it could is the issue with a potential conflict of interest. Doesn't matter what actually happened.
Or down.
Or down. Yeah, I mean it. I mean, it's the fact that it could have an impact that she needs to declare the conflict, not what actually happened as a result.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please, Vice Chair.
Sounds like we have many questions that need to be answered. So I would propose moving this to investigation so we can answer them and then one way or the other, resolve this case.
I am in agreement. Yeah, I think if we're having this much discussion at this point, I think it would be helpful to have more information. Any further discussion? I'd like to move this forward to a motion so we can get on with the agenda. Okay, Vice Chair, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Pamela Brown may have violated ORS 244-040 sub 1, ORS 244-060, ORS 244-120 sub 2, and ORS 244-177, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion on executive session agenda item 5. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Helt,
Nay.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-1.
Ms. Brown, thank you for appearing today and providing the information that you provided. It was very helpful. We have voted to move your case to investigation. I want to be very clear that there has been no decision today that any violations have occurred. We simply, as a commission, want to gather more information so that we can make a more thorough decision. And the staff will be in touch to discuss next steps with you.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's 10:06. I would like to adjourn for a quick bio break for everyone, 5 minutes, and we will come back and proceed.
Hello, have we started yet?
I'm ready if everybody else is.
All supposed to be on the same recording.
Commissioner Payne, we enjoyed the gluten-free donut holes that Susan ordered for you. So
Oh,
thank
no.
you. Thank you very much. They were very tasty.
Darn. I
Not
wish you were
just for
like
you.
the Jetsons and you could put it in a tube to me. Okay.
I didn't know we had gluten-free things in Salem. Now I'm going to have to definitely come and join you all.
Well, it's not just for Commissioner Payne. Several of our staff are gluten-free as well, so.
Susan, I was trying to give you props with the chair. Come on, help me out here.
I don't feel special anymore. Okay, are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Chair, we're ready.
Okay, thank you. Moving to executive session, agenda item 6. And we do not have anyone appearing. So Investigator Sullivan, please provide the report.
Yes, thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. This is Investigator Josh Sullivan for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item number 6. This is a complaint against Chad LaValle, Fire Chief for the Alfalfa Fire District, or AF. The complaint in this case alleges that Chad LaValle hired his wife, Leslie LaValle, as a full-time AFD employee in July of 2023. The complaint states that there was not a public job posting or competitive recruitment process for the position, and Chad LaValle may have appointed and supervised his relative. The information obtained in this preliminary review indicates that Chad LaValle may have offered the EMT position to Leslie LaValle after making the offer to other AFD EMT volunteers. Although it appears that Chad LaValle may have contacted the AFD board about hiring his relative, it appears that he was met with a conflict of interest when he made recommendations and decisions about her hiring. It appears that Chad LaValle may have approached Leslie LaValle about filling the EMT position prior to requesting guidance from the board. Because it does not appear that he provided the board with the statutorily required written notification of his conflict of interest, he may have violated ORS 244.120 sub 1 sub C. The information in this preliminary review also indicates that Chad LaValle may have engaged in a prohibited use of office by taking actions in his official capacity to facilitate the hiring of his relative. Additionally, the nepotism provisions prohibit public officials from appointing relatives to positions within their own public body unless they comply with the conflict of interest requirement. However, it appears that Chad LaValle may have violated ORS 44.177 sub 1 when he was involved in the appointment of his spouse to the EMT position, and it appears that he may have violated ORS 4.179 sub 1 by directly supervising Leslie LaValle. Based on the information available in this preliminary review, there appears to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Chad LaValle may have violated the conflict of interest, prohibited use of office, and nepotism provisions of Oregon government ethics law, and the recommendation is to move this case to investigation.
Thank you, Investigator Sullivan. Commissioners, any questions for the investigator? Any discussion? Vice Chair, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the commission find there is a substantial objective basis for believing that Chad LaValle may have violated ORS 244.040 sub 1, ORS 244.177 sub 1, ORS 244.179 sub 1, and ORS 244.120 sub 1 sub C, and that the commission should investigate accordingly.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioners, you've heard the motion on executive session agenda item 6. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy?
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley?
Aye.
Commissioner Helt?
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, next up is agenda item 7, Michael Peterkin. And his attorney will be appearing, Bob Steringer. Hello, Mr. Steringer. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You know the routine and how this goes, so we will just move forward and proceed. Mr. Pacheco, please provide the report.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda item 7 in your meeting books, the preliminary review report for Michael Peterkin, General Legal Counsel for the Columbia 911 Communications District. The complaint alleges that Mr. Peterkin took actions as a public official in violation of Oregon government ethics law when 1, taking unauthorized actions on behalf of the district that financially benefit himself, 2, provided legal guidance to the district and then representing the district when the legal advice results in a lawsuit or legal proceeding, resulting in a financial benefit to himself, and 3, when providing improper legal advice intended to further litigation and overall billable hours for self-benefit. With respect to the second and third allegations, there was no information provided in the complaint nor found in this preliminary review to indicate that Mr. Peterkin used or attempted to use his position in such a manner. While it is clear that Mr. Peterkin was involved in many of the district's projects, there does not appear to be sufficient information to indicate that he was met with a conflict of interest, nor that he engaged in a prohibited use of position. Consequently, the recommendation in your books is to dismiss. Thank you.
Thank you, investigator. I'll open it up to commissioners to first ask questions of the investigator. Should you have any? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. Steringer, now is the time for you to make a statement, keeping in mind that the recommendation is to move to dismiss in this case.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Payne. Bob Steringer representing Mr. Peterkin. Mr. Peterkin would have liked to have been here today, but he's traveling and was not able to join. We obviously agree with Investigator Pacheco's recommendation, and therefore I'm just here to answer any questions that the commission might have.
Thank you, Mr. Steringer. I'll open the floor up to commissioners if they have any questions of Mr. Steringer. Seeing and hearing none, any discussion before we proceed to a motion? Vice Chair, are you ready to make a motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. For executive session agenda item number 7, I move the commission dismiss the complaint against Michael Peterkin.
Thank you, Vice Chair. For executive session agenda item 7, commissioners, you've heard the motion. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Helt is abstaining. Sorry. Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner McCulley.
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you, Mr. Steringer, for appearing today. As you've heard, the matter against Mr. Peterkin has been dismissed.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, we are now moving to agenda item 15, and respondent DeGroot is appearing. Hello, Mr. DeGroot, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
And can you pronounce your last name for me?
DeGroot.
DeGroot, okay. My name is Shanoa Payne. I'm the chair of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And I just wanted to sort of give you the layout of how this is going to proceed. First, the investigator is going to give the report. And then the commissioners will have an opportunity to first ask questions of the investigator, should they have any. Then we will give you an opportunity to make a statement. We are limiting statements to 3 minutes or less, just because we have a very long agenda today and we need to get through our agenda. Then we will open the floor up to commissioners to ask any questions of you, should they have any. Then we will open it up for discussion on your matter, and then we will proceed to a vote. The only decision that is being made today is whether to move your matter to investigation. There is no decision being made today on whether any violations actually occurred. So I just want to make that clarification, okay? With that being said, we will proceed to the investigative report. Investigator Patterson, please.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commission. This is Investigator Silas Patterson for the record. I'm presenting executive session agenda item 15. This is a complaint against Derek D. Groot, Willamette County Commissioner and former board chair for the South Central Oregon Economic Development District, or SCOED. The complaint in this case alleges that Derek D. Groot used his position as a Klamath County Commissioner and chair of the SCOED Board of Directors to benefit himself, relatives, and a business with which he is associated. Due to the number of allegations in this report, we will go through each allegation and the information found in the course of the preliminary review. Complaint states that Mr. DeGroot acquired and used private foreclosure information to facilitate the purchase of properties for himself and his relative. During the preliminary review, it was determined that some of the actions that occurred regarding this allegation occurred outside of the Commission's 4-year jurisdiction. Additionally, it appears that during the Commission's jurisdiction, all of the foreclosure information was publicly available. The complaint also alleges that Mr. DeGroot failed to declare conflicts of interest prior to voting on accelerated tax foreclosure for properties that were subsequently purchased by members of his family. It appears that Mr. DeGroot did vote to accelerate the foreclosure process on a property that was later purchased by his uncle. However, because an uncle does not meet the definition of a relative as defined in ORS 2420 sub A, it does not appear that Mr. DeGroot was met with a conflict of interest or used his public position for the financial benefit of a relative. Finally, the complaint alleges that Mr. DeGroot participated in the development of a housing revitalization program that awarded grant funds to his relatives in a business with which he is associated, totaling over $150,000. The information in this preliminary review indicates that Mr. DeGroot participated in developing the criteria for a grant program that issued housing revitalization grants and that he voted to fund that grant program. However, it would appear that the official actions, decisions, and recommendations related to the grant program all occurred before Mr. DeGroot's family members applied for the grants through the program. Subsequently, one of the revitalization grants was awarded to Mr. DeGroot's aunt, who does not meet the definition of a relative as defined in ORS 44.20 sub 16 sub A. Another grant was awarded to a business owned in part by Mr. DeGroot's father, even though his father would constitute a relative and make business a business with which Mr. DeGroot is associated, as noted above. All of Mr. DeGroot's official actions related to the grant program appear to have occurred outside of the Commission's jurisdiction. Because the events relevant to these allegations occurs outside of the Commission's jurisdiction, there does not appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Derek DeGroot violated the prohibited office confidential provisions of Oregon government ethics law. The recommendation is to dismiss this case.
Thank you, Investigator Patterson. Any commissioners have questions for the investigator? Commissioner Halt.
Thank you. I am very curious. It says that on the 3317 Derby Street, Mr. DeGroot's name was added to the deed. I'm very curious as to when that happened, and that was not accessible in the report.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Helt. The name was added to the deed for the 3317 Derby Street property, I believe May 5th, 2022. Or 2024, sorry. This would have been after the grant funds had been awarded, or the grant had been awarded for the revitalization program. So the deed was added after the grant had been awarded to Mr.
Commissioner Jancy.
A question for the investigator. I guess essentially, based on the information that you have, on these items that are outside the jurisdictionary period, but for that time cutoff, would the recommendation have otherwise been to proceed to an investigation?
So yes, and say.
Can I provide? My recommendation would be yes to move to investigation.
Okay. And on the family member violation, as I understand it, this is it's not really a question of whether the benefit was provided to a family member. The issue comes down to the fact that the statutory language does not expressly include this type of family member. Otherwise, there be evidence sufficient or such that your recommendation would be to move to an investigation?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jancy. Excellent questions. Any other questions for the investigator before we move to a statement? Seeing and hearing none. Mr. DeGroot, this is your chance to make a statement, keeping in mind that the recommendation is to move to dismiss.
Thank you, Chair Payne, members of the commission. I appreciate the review. I appreciate the opportunity to give a statement. I would just say that during the course of all the actions that have been reviewed, I have always done my very best to not only follow the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, and am available to answer any questions that the chair of the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. DeGroot. We appreciate you appearing today and making a statement. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. DeGroot? Commissioner Halt.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Mr. DeGroot, why was your name added to the 3317 Derby Street purchase on May 5th?
So just maybe a correction. My name was not added to the Derby Street address. It's actually a different address that was reviewed. That's the 7655 Hilliard Street. My wife and I added our names to that property to help facilitate a mortgage on the property.
And that property is owned by your dad?
Correct.
But your name is not on the Derby Street with your uncle?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. DeGroot? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, are you prepared to make a motion?
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. For executive session item number 15, I move the commission dismiss the complaint against Derek DeGroot.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion on executive session agenda item 15. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner McCulley,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
A reluctant aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
So, Mr. DeGroot, you've now heard the motion and the vote. Your matter has been dismissed. Thank you for appearing today, and we wish you the best, and hopefully you've had an opportunity for some education in this matter.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we are proceeding to items 17 and 18. We have no one appearing, so Investigator Pacheco, please.
Excuse me, Chair, we're actually on item 16, and we do have the respondent appearing.
Thank you for keeping me on track. I appreciate that. Item 16. Ms. Bethul, can you hear me?
Yeah,
And am I saying your last name correctly?
close. It's Bethel.
Bethel, okay.
Just faster.
Okay. So the way that this process is going to work, first of all, my name's Shanoa Payne. I'm the chair of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And the way this process is going to work is first the investigator will provide a report of the investigation or in the recommendation. And then the commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of the investigator. And then we will provide you with an opportunity to provide a short statement, which we limit statements to 3 minutes or less because of our long agenda. And then the commissioners will then have an opportunity to ask questions of you, should they have any. And then we will move to any discussion if we have any, and then a vote. And keeping in mind that the recommendation is to move to dismiss your matter. So keep that in mind when you're providing your statement today. All that said, Investigator Fenstermaker, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Commissioners, my name is Casey Fenstermaker. Executive session item number 16 is a preliminary review report regarding Danielle Bethel. The complaint in this case alleged that Marion County Commissioner Danielle Bethel used or attempted to use her office to have a traffic citation vacated for her son's girlfriend. Her son's girlfriend was living with Commissioner Bethel at the time, making her a member of Commissioner Bethel's household, and therefore this was a matter subject to provisions of Oregon government ethics law. Based on the information obtained during the preliminary review, Commissioner Bethel did reach out to the mayor of Almsville, the Almsville Police, and the Almsville City Administrator, asking for information regarding the traffic stuff, including obtaining records and body cam footage. Based on interviews and a review of communications among the Almsville public officials and Commissioner Bethel, it does not appear that Commissioner Bethel was using or attempting to use her office to either have the fine reduced, the citation vacated, or otherwise obtain a financial benefit for a member of her household that would only be available to her because of her position. Further, it does not appear that she used any confidential information during these communications, including neither personal email addresses nor phone numbers. As a result, there does not appear to be a substantial objective basis to believe that Danielle Bethel violated Oregon government ethics law, and we recommend this complaint be dismissed.
Thank you, Investigator Fenstermaker. Commissioners, any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Bethel, now is your opportunity to make a statement. We ask that you keep it to 3 minutes or less, and keep in mind that the recommendation is to move to dismiss your matter.
Thank you. I actually don't have a statement to make. I appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioners, any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, are you prepared to make a motion?
I would kick this to Commissioner McCauley since I will be abstaining from this vote.
Oh, thank you for the reminder. Commissioner McCauley, are you prepared to make a motion on number 16?
I can. For item, agenda item number 16, I move the commission dismiss the complaint against Danielle Bethel.
Thank you, Commissioner McCauley. Commissioners, you've heard the motion on executive session agenda item 16. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson is abstaining. Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Helt.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Ms. Bethel, the commission has dismissed your matter. Thank you for appearing today.
Thank you. Have a great Friday, everybody.
Okay, we are now moving to agenda items 17 and 18, Lincoln County No one is appearing on those matters. Investigator Pacheco, please proceed with the report.
Thank you, Chair Payne and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda items 17 and 18 in your meeting books are preliminary review reports for the Lincoln County Commissioners, Walter Chuck and Casey Miller. The complaint in this matter alleges that the County Commissioners violated ORS 192.640 at their November 5th, 2025 regular meeting when voting to remove and later adopt the county's personnel rules, and separately when considering subjects which were not included on the meeting agenda. The information gathered supports that the November 5th meeting was properly noticed, and all actions taken by the county commissioners were done in a properly noticed meeting. All remaining issues raised in the grievance and complaint do not appear to indicate a violation of public meetings law. Therefore, the recommendation in your books is to dismiss. Thank you.
Thank you, Investigator Pacheco. Any questions for the investigator? Seeing and hearing none. Let's, any discussion on this before we proceed to a motion? Seeing and hearing none, Vice Chair, we can move on these at the same, all at once.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For executive session agenda items number 17 and 18, I move the commission dismiss the complaints against Walter Chuck and Casey Miller.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioners, you've heard the motion on agenda items 17 and 18. Administrator, please call the roll.
Commissioner Burke. Commissioner Burke.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Helt.
Aye.
Chair Payne.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
That concludes our executive session, and we are now going to reconvene regular open session.